So we're in your culinary book, and we're in the last chapter, chapter 13, and we just got over going over kinds of beverages. Now we went over making punch, but I didn't go over the tips and techniques making ice molds. So here we have, after making punch, you can freeze some of the punch mixture in a decorative mold and use it instead of ice cubes. That's kind of fun. Using ice molds with punch not only adds a decorative touch, but always keeps the punch from becoming diluted. So you can choose a container that will fit inside the punch bowl. Sometimes it's a fun shape of it that goes in. You can use a large ring, custard cups, or decorative molds, or whatever is to put different effects into your punch. So you fill the mold halfway full of punch, and then you add any desired garnishes, and then you freeze the mold. And garnishes you can put in like berries, mint leaves, edible flowers, lemon or lime slices can go into your punch mold. So when the punch is solidly frozen, you finish filling the mold with more of the punch mixture, and then you refreeze it again. So you freeze it, and then you refreeze it when it's solid. So just before serving, carefully remove the frozen punch from the mold and place it in a partially filled punch bowl. And then be sure to leave enough room in the bowl so that it will not overflow when the ice mold is added. So you have the punch, and then you make sure the ice mold is added, but it won't overflow. When adding additional punch to the bowl, try to avoid pouring it directly onto the punch mold. And pouring punch over the ice mold may cause the ice to crack, so you don't want to do that, or to melt. So avoid just pouring it directly over it. And if it melts, it's kind of unattractive then, right, after you did all that work. Same principle can be applied when serving lemonade or iced tea from a dispenser. Though a mold may not be needed, making ice cubes with lemonade or tea and water will help prevent diluting it. So you can make lemonade ice cubes, right? Isn't that cool? So just think of those kind of things. So that was on beverages, but I wanted to go over because I missed this and I thought it was really interesting in how to make an ice mold. So now we're getting into section 13, section 2, chapter 13, section 2, and we'll be talking about appetizers. So an appetizer was once we thought of appetizers with just the first course of the meal. And so it would be a small serving or a light food that was intended to just whet your appetite before you ate. And a lot of times this would be a salad or a soup, and that would be your first course. But now, small appetizers or fruit or vegetable platters are often arranged on a serving tray, and then you set it out for your guests, right? And they become appetizers. So serving appetizers before the meal can give the hostess opportunity to greet her guests. So you can actually, it's really nice to be able to put appetizers out, and then you can finish actually putting things together or setting the table or whatever while your guests are talking to each other, and they have their appetizers and they're, not sitting around hungry, right? So it says in a more contemporary application, appetizers have almost become synonymous with party food. So a lot of times you think, okay, we're at a party, we're going to have a party here, let's sit and make up some finger foods and appetizers for our guests, And, you do this any time, because a party, if you want to say party, it could be birthday party, it could be anything, or it could be, and I was even thinking of a church event there, where you just serve appetizers to you, a variety of appetizers to people. So any kind of environment like that. So here's the types of appetizers. Here's some pictures right here. So hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres are a type of appetizer that are bite-sized snacks, and you can take before a meal, and usually they're a savory food, so they're not, and they have individual garnishes, so they're not sweet. So a savory food, some kind of, cheese, some kind of meat, savory type, or sometimes fruit, but vegetable platters and fruit trays and cheese trays. Well, I guess they're types of hors d'oeuvres too. When you think of an hors d'oeuvre, you think of more a meat hors d'oeuvres. So but actually hors d'oeuvres remind me of vegetable platters too. So vegetable platters Basically, and fruit trays and cheese trays are some of the favorite types of appetizers. So raw vegetables can be used and they've been cut into sticks, and they decorate. You can decorate these bite-sized shapes, and they served with a herb-flavored dip, where you can dip them, or sometimes you even, if you take celery, you can put cheese or cream cheese on the celery or something for the vegetable platters. Fresh fruit is also prepared and cut into small pieces for guests to pick up little pieces of fruit. And sometimes this fruit is accompanied by dipping it in yogurt or chocolate or any kind of fruit dips. So, and cheese trays are commonly included in a variety of cheeses and crackers with cheese trays. How about finger foods? Finger foods can be any small food items that are intended to be picked up and eaten without flatware, without silverware. You basically pick them up and eat with your fingers, right? That's why they're called finger food. And so, and even sometimes finger foods are without a plate. So there's finger sandwiches and chicken wings. Those are two popular finger foods. Although with chicken wings, I think you need to have not just a napkin. You probably need to have a little plate, at least a paper plate. So then we have dips, sauces, and spreads. And these are another type of appetizer. The foods that these can be served with are, you can take meatballs with dips, sausages, fresh fruit with dips, fresh vegetables with dips, chips and dips. How about chips and dips? Nachos would be a good. And small pieces of bread can be actually dipped into different kinds of dips and sauces and spreads. And then there's one type of dip that's called fondue. And it's a type of dip in which the guests choose from an array of different ingredients, then dip them into melted cheese or chocolate. So fondue sometimes have, a fondue, you have a skewer to put them on. Fondue includes dipping meat and vegetables in butter and then into oil that is not hot enough to cook them. So you can do that way too. So you can have meat fondue, vegetable fondue. You can have fondues with hot chocolate, with chocolate to dip them in. And it can be served as an appetizer. Sometimes fondues are even served as a total meal as you eat the meal that way, especially if it's meat. Sauces may be used to either dip foods in or to cook foods in, depending on the type of sauce and the food being served with it. A spread is thicker than a dip, and many spreads are made with a soft cheese base, such as cream cheese, to which seasonings and other foods are added to the cream cheese. Delicious, right? Although sweet foods are not usually as appetizers, they're more like desserts. Many different pastries and confections can be incorporated into the menu of an appetizer or hors d'oeuvre, so you can add them to, like little cookies or petite flores, bite-sized little iced cakes, candies, sugar nuts. They're all good for options of type of sweet food types of appetizers. Sometimes for dessert too. To make sweet food work well as appetizers, make its portion size very small, often only large enough like 1 or 2 bites, because you don't want to have too much, especially if it's before you eat, as an appetizer before you eat, instead of having dessert afterwards too. So, entertaining with appetizers, party planning. Appetizers and finger foods can be offered in place of a meal, especially at a party or a casual event. So in place of your meal. And to be sure to include a variety of foods if you do this, with lots of flavors and colors and textures and shapes and sizes. So meal service should be organized like a regular buffet. So, you pick up your appetizers like it'd be on a buffet. And consider how the guests will eat them. Make sure you have the utensils they need, right? Determine what kind of flatware that you needed, and you might have serving spoons, forks, and spreaders if you need. And many appetizers can be picked up with toothpicks. That's a good way of doing it. You don't have to have a lot of silverware that can be picked up with toothpicks. And also consider how the guests will hold their food. Will they need plates when they're holding their food? Are they going to be dropping things on the floor? You have to think about these things. So, and if you have a variety of appetizers, will they go together on the plate? And how And maybe dinnerware, maybe you won't need dinnerware if you have a disposable napkin, maybe that's all you need. So just think how they're going to eat it. As for any buffet service, food safety should be a priority, of course. That means that you arrange your food on small trays and share in small dishes so that you can change them often. Use chafing dishes with slow cookers and large bowls of ice to keep the. First of all, the slow cookers will keep hot foods hot, and the ice will keep cold foods cold, so they're not going to become lukewarm and sit around for a while and cause bacteria to grow. So usually ingredients can sit at room temperature for no more than 2 hours. So just 2 hours is the most. Don't just let them sit all day. Arranging the food. Appetizers are famous for their eye appeal. So appetizers and party food should be attractive. They're arranged on these serving trays and serving bowls that are very attractive. The trays on the appetizer are arranged can be enhanced with large garnishes and the appearance. You could have garnishes outside sitting around. The appearance of individual appetizers and the arrangement of food should entice guests so they want to come and eat them. They look nice, look appetizing, right? A key factor in creating eye appeal is the arrangement of the food on each tray. So how do you arrange them on the tray? First of all, large groupings of a few items will look better than small groups. So large groupings of just a very few items look better than you have small groups of numerous items don't look as well. If you have like a tray with 100 pieces of meat on them, or 100 pieces of crackers or something, it doesn't look good as more larger ones on the plate. Some items may even stand alone in a tray, like a tray of chicken wings or a tray of sandwiches. You can put alone in a tray. And some trays will contain multiple food items, but they should still be arranged so that they're large groupings of the same food. So put all the same food in the same area. So a vegetable tray is a good example of this. You'll take several varieties of vegetables that go on the tray, but they should be grouped together by their vegetables, like all this type of vegetable and this part of the tray and this part on the other part of the tray. So here's an arrangement of vegetables like that right there. So a key, let's see. As guests begin to partake the food on a tray, it can quickly begin to look very sparse. They're taking it off, and so grouping items is a way to help the trays with the appetizing appearance. Since a fresh tray has more eye appeal, it's using smaller trays. So when they get less, you can bring in a nice brand new tray of food, so with the smaller trays. If a single tray will contain a variety of items, consider the color, right? So on a vegetable tray, here's a good picture of it. Avoid placing broccoli next to celery and sugar snap peas. They're all green. You don't want to have a whole tray with just green stuff on it, right? So you intersperse the vegetables with contrasting colors like that picture, such as carrot sticks and celery tomatoes and miniature corn. And see how they did that in that picture. They just kind of put them so that very much of an eye appeal there with the colors. So also consider the shape of the foods. If two types of cookies will be on a menu, as you bake one, a bar cookie that can be cut into squares or triangles, and then bake another as a drop cookie. So you have kind of a contrast in shapes too. A variety of shape will add eye appeal to everything the same shape. So, arranging the table. Not only should the food be arranged for the ease of serving, but the filled tray should also be placed on the table in a very attractive arrangement. So you want to make sure. Vary the size, shape, and height of the serving. Sometimes it's nice to put different heights. You have different. You can even put different boxes or different things for them to sit on, so different heights, and cover it with a tablecloth, so it matches. And so place the food on the table so the trays of food containing more neutrally colored items are next to the colorful ones, or bowls and trays. So you have a tray and a bowl next to so there's more variety. Just more variety looks like it's more appetizing, and also the variety has eye appeal. Looks. Oh wow, this looks beautiful. You know, as you arrange it together. So let's see. Here, let's see. Let's go back. I'll go over this a little bit about desserts here, but see. Entertaining, okay, this type of entertaining does not need to be grouped as if it were separate courses. So anyway, it's saying trays of dessert items can be placed among the trays of savory items too. So you can mix dessert items in a buffet. That's always good because you maybe have some, candies next, next to the other meal, so they can actually pick up some of the, the sweet items as they're going through a buffet. So the buffet of the desserts mixed in. That works pretty good too. The plates should always be at the beginning of the line when they get their plates in a buffet type appetizer place for the buffets. So it can be, you get the plates first and then the forks and napkins if they're needed at the end. So it's just like raising like you put it together a buffet. You put together that that for appetizers. So let's talk a little bit here about desserts. So it says to keep the menu for a meal balanced, plan the dessert at the same time that you're planning the rest of the meal. So you plan your meal. If you have a light meal, a rich dessert such as a cheesecake or a slice of pie topped with ice cream may be served. So if you're having a light meal, then you can have a rich dessert. If you're having a very full meal, you can have a very light dessert, is what they're saying. So if you have a heavy meal, there's a light. So when you're putting a meal plan together, think, oh, are they going to eat a big meal? Then we're going to have some light desserts. But if they're going to have a very tiny, meal, or meal that they could have a heavy dessert and be able to eat it, right? So whether a simple dessert or elaborate one, any dessert can be garnished to enhance its appearance. The garnish for a dessert should be appropriate for the dessert. It should complement the flavor of the dessert. So garnishes must be edible, always. So you're going to have a decorative garnish, it must be edible. So using a festive garnish can help the dessert highlight the meal. So as you put together, it's like, oh, beautiful dessert. And here's some tips to dress up a dessert. You add sauce to the plate or drizzle sauce over the dessert. Have you seen that? You can place stencil or dolly over a cake or pie or plate on which the dessert is set. You can put dollies or stencils with your dessert, set them on them. And then you could sprinkle with cocoa powder, confectionate sugar, or cinnamon over the stencil before serving. And then you have this, beautiful, carefully remove the stencil, and then you'll have a beautiful design on top of your dessert. So you take a stencil, put it on top, a design, and then you put the powdered sugar or whatever on there, and you'll have a stencil. You remove it, and you can put any kind of stencil you want on top. Add interest by using shavings or curls of citrus or chocolate. Brighten the plate by including a fanned strawberry. You can put strawberry as that garnish, or mint. Mint is really good. Also, add flavor and texture and contrast. You can spoon a dollop of whipped cream on top of a dessert or put whipped cream beside it. And sprinkle chopped nuts is another way on a dessert. Or you can put a specially grown edible flower, such as a pansy or a nasturtium. I don't know what that is, but some kind of flower that you can eat. I'm not used to those flowers, but you can eat a lot of different flowers. Make sure you can eat it, though, before you put it on the plate. So that's it for desserts. Cakes. Let's see. I think I'll do cakes in the next because cakes, and then we'll go on to pies. So maybe we can do cakes and pies in the next video. So let's stop there.